classroom. But yeah, awesome. Welcome everybody. Hello. Happy Tuesday. Hope everybody's excited. Hi, Courtney. Hi, Benina. Hey, everybody. Cindy Eastman, how you doing, my dear? Awesome. All right, we're gonna jump. Tell me something good. I want to hear something good from you guys. We got 17 on here. I know something's got some good stuff. Come on.
I got good public service announcements just for information. So the first one is there's a group. I'll put the link in the chat called the NSA Influencer NSA Agent Program, and what they're doing is they're trying to match up non-sponsored agents with people in our downlines who don't have anybody sponsored yet, right? So they post in there like a list of cities and towns, and so if you have somebody in your downline who only has 0 or 1 sponsees, you can connect them, and if you get them to join and name them as a sponsor, it's a way to kind of build your downline and help out folks that don't have anybody sponsored yet. So check that out if you haven't yet. I'd say almost every single day they post a list of like 10 or 15 cities that there's an agent in that's looking for a sponsor. So cool tool. So I'll post that in the chat. And then the other thing is, if you have any type of downline, if you look in the MyEXP app or the on the website, they've made it real easy to name your successor, right? So this is a thing that exists that I think most people maybe know or don't know about, but they don't actually act on, is you can name a successor for your rev share, right? So they have to be licensed to collect rev share. They have to get licensed within 12 months, but there's a quick, easy doc that you can fill out and name a primary and secondary successor. So if you're getting any level of rev share, you should do that, because if anything happens to you, it'd be a super bummer to leave that money on the table, right? If you have kids or heirs, or it can be anybody, could just be one of your friends that, you want to make sure that rev share lives on and benefits somebody. So, check that out in your MyEXP app. They keep adding stuff to the MyEXP app. There's all kinds of good stuff in there. So if you're not checking on that daily, you should be looking at it.
The only thing to know about the successor, just FYI, is stock that is not vested does not transfer. So if you have stock that has not yet vested and you sadly pass away, that stock goes back to the company, just as if you left the company. But any stock that's vested, of course, in your portfolio or anything like that, you would continue to go to your heirs just like anything else. The second part of that is y'all got to make sure you have your trust and your will in place, because number one, it can go to that person that you've designated, but if you don't have a will, it could also go through probate. There could be a lot of issues, and even if you have a will does not eliminate you from probate. The only reason I'm bringing this up is because I just had this come up. So I really encourage you guys to make sure you have your trusts and your wills in place, and it's a great way to reach out to your client base as well and make sure that they know that, because I've had some close friends and family pass away without the proper stuff in place, and it can be devastating and it can be quite an issue. So not to start off with that kind of note, hopefully y'all are around for a while, but there you go.
That's all right. I get it. Hey, life is short. Tomorrow's never promised. So you got to prepare yourself, obviously, as we've seen here recently. Had disbelief. So it is what it is. Thank you. Thanks, Dylan. That's in the chat box, you guys. Plugging it at. MyEXP is a great app. If you guys aren't looking at that, you should. The NSA program sounds amazing, honestly. It's really going to help support a lot of people, help growth. So yeah, plug into the NSA or the NSA, right, Dylan? Non-sponsored agent. Yep. Perfect. So that's good stuff. All right. All right, Shireen, you put your finger.
Something fun happened. It was after I had mourned something's death, and then I found out it was alive. So it was kind of exciting. It was basically, I thought I missed Icon Agent. I thought I missed it. And so I was like so sad, and I was really bummed. And then I was sponsoring somebody, and I was like, oh, they need to see how awesome our brokers are, what they're doing in Hawaii. I pulled up the October newsletter to send to them, and I saw Dylan and I and Ronnie were all Icon agents in September.
Shoot, seriously, good job.
I seriously didn't think I had it. So I called Isaiah. I went in the cloud. I was like, you guys, are you sure? Are you sure? I'm calling him trying to find out. Like, I already mourned this death. I don't think I made it. And they're like, no, you made it. Like by September 15th, you had it. And here I thought I didn't. So I just want to share that I love this company so much. And then when I saw on the newsletter, it was me, and then it was out in Hawaii. It was the three of us, in our little group. So anyway, I was very proud of Dylan and Ronnie, and I was very.
I'll clarify. I think that was a typo on me because I made it back in April. So I don't know. I was like, "What's this about?" Yeah.
Maybe you're.
I did check, Dylan. I had to check, double check, triple check. So we're all good.
I love it. Maybe there's such thing as a double icon, Dylan. Maybe you hit the double lotto.
Yeah, maybe that was it, Dylan.
Congratulations, Cherie, Dylan, and Ronnie. Ronnie on here? Ronnie's on here. All right. Well, Ronnie's the iPod thing, or his OtterPod's on here or something, isn't he? Ronnie, if you're seeing it where you're going to dictate, congratulations, sir. Awesome, you guys. Good job, Shireen. You guys are amazing. Love it. All right. Some other good news. That was great news. Some other good news.
I got something.
I know. Go for it, girl.
No, it's good news, but I had a guy called me a week ago and said,
oh, she's laying us on a punchline there. You froze on us, Cindy. Darn, that was like a joke without the punchline. All right, maybe she'll de-thaw here in a minute. And if she does, I want to hear the story now because she has me clip hanging. What's up, Jeffrey Smith? Courtney, good morning. All right, well, she's frozen. All right, we're going to move on. So she comes back on, we'll get that. Anybody else? Got some good? Anybody else that's new here that wants to introduce themselves? Don't like to put right on the front line like that, but there's a few people here I feel like I've never met before. Kamalani, how you doing, my dear? Good to see you, as always. Let's see who, I'm going to pick somebody out. Jennifer McClellan, how you doing? Christy Spears. I know. Oh, there we go. Hi, Christy. You're new. Welcome, welcome. I'm not going to pay too much on the front. Hey, well, can you introduce yourself?
I have joined Bo Benjamin's Realty Group. So I work here with Jennifer and Bo. So yeah.
Nice. All right.
Nice to meet everyone.
Love Bo. Bo is the dude. Love him. Good guy.
did you guys miss that whole thing?
We kind of did. You froze on it. You got to come back.
So I'm back. So anyway, I don't know where I left off, but I got a listing down at Holcana Beach, and I went down yesterday to go check it out. And it's supposed to be a vacant lot, and there was a house on it. And it was a kind of a shacky, funky, homemade kind of house. And I'm going, gee, I'm wondering if this is squatters. So I walk out on the beach. I knew that was the property because I'd gone to the beach down there many years ago with my kids and stuff. And the water tank was still there. So I go next door, and these Hawaiian people are sitting out on their lanai playing cards. And I said, hi, I'm Cindy Griffey, and I listed this lot next door. I said, it's Mark Kimakuhu. And she goes, Mark? He just left. He's not selling. And so I went, really? So I said, well, let me get him on the phone. So I got Mark on the phone, and he was in Seattle. And I said, so is there a house on the property? He goes, no, there's no house, vacant land. So she gets her Mark on the phone, the real owner. And we're both talking, and I hand her my phone. She hands me hers. And it was a scam. This guy was scamming to try to get this lot listed and sold. Oh. So I had the real Mark on the phone, and the other guy hung up, of course. And so I wrote him back, and I said, well, our listing is null and void because you're a scammer. And the real Mark was he's got a friend that's a district attorney he was going to call, but he wanted me to tell everybody that this is going on. And it was kind of freaky. And I don't know how far you'd get. I mean, you got to produce your social security card number and all that. So I don't know if it ever would have, but it sure would have been some humbug if I'd had a buyer that wanted to buy it and then couldn't sell it. Right. So.
Oh yeah.
It was a trip. First time like something like that.
That's
so I canceled the photos. No photography.
No, but now.
No.
All right.
Crazy.
Well, definitely food. You definitely want to keep reps and make sure that kind of stuff is happening, obviously. So do your due diligence. And I guess there's probably not enough due diligence you can do. Ultimately, I think people are out here learning how to scam on top of a scam on top of a scam. I mean, AI now can literally call you and sound like someone else and pretend to be someone else. So yeah, who knows? Be careful out there. I guess you just gotta figure out how do you figure that out? I don't know. I'm sure we'll come up with something. Awesome. All right. Anybody else? One more thing. We want to jump out real quick and say some good news, something exciting in your life. Otherwise, we're going to move on. No. Once, twice. Bueller. All right.
Marguerite.
Great. So our speaker today is a very near and dear friend of mine. I've known she's well over a decade and a half. I mean, forever, I feel like. She's my family back in Roseville area. I love her and dear. Her and Joe are like my brother and sister. I love them to death. Marguerite, though, has been in the industry for, 25 plus years, almost going on 30 years.
30 years in December.
Here's December. And she's done everything, running her brokerages, getting franchises, independents, running teams, over 3,000 transactions in her career. I mean, literally, she's done a coach, mentored hundreds of agents. Now she's an author, wrote books. She's done amazing things. I love her so much. She's inspiring. I did a podcast with her, but definitely here today to kind of share some of her insight on her journey, kind of share her story, and give you guys a few nuggets that you could take away today and add to your arsenal of business, what we're going through and navigating through this market. So without any affair, go for it. Marguerite, love you. Go ahead and take the screen, my dear.
Thank you. Love you too. How much time do I have?
Well, we have 45 minutes. Yeah.
Well, I'm super excited to be here, you guys. Chris has been a long time good friend of ours, somebody who I also adore and love to spend time with. He's always motivating and inspiring and lots of great stuff. So I will kind of dive in. I didn't have a particular topic to talk about, but what I wanted to do is just give you kind of some background on what's happened in my life and what I've seen. And if any of that resonates with you, or you have questions, or you want to dig in more, I'm happy to do so. I want to start out a little bit with some goal thoughts and goal settings, because I think that right now everybody's struggling a little bit, maybe, and they're trying to kind of find their way and figure out what's important and what's there. So I want to take you all the way back to when I was 15 years old. So I grew up extremely poor, homeless at times, with a single mom. Lots of different things happened in my life, but I was always a journaler, so to speak. From the time I was a little girl, I had my little, books that I would write things in, and my goals and ideas. And I remember I was 15 years old, and I went to a friend's house that lived on 5 acres, and I thought, oh my gosh, that is so amazing that they had 5 acres. And I thought, man, I went home and I wrote in my book, I said, I want to have a 5-acre ranch by the time I'm 30 years old, right? That was kind of the vision in my head. Now, keep in mind, again, very poor, didn't really have any thoughts on what I was going to do, where I was going to go, what kind of work I was going to do, nothing. I had no idea. I wrote it in my journal that I wanted this 5-acre ranch by the time I was 30. Fast forward, I'm 29 years old. It's 1993. My husband, Joe, and I had been married for a couple of years. We had a 5-year-old little boy. He had 3 children from his previous wife. And we were living in our first home in North Highlands, which was like 900 square feet. We paid like $80,000 for it. There's a method behind this whole story, so stick with me. And I wanted to start looking for land. I had forgotten about what I'd written in my journal, frankly. I'd forgotten. And I wanted to buy something in the country. My husband grew up in Loomis, and he's like, yeah, I want to find something in Loomis. Well, it wasn't in our budget. I'm looking around. I finally look in the newspaper, and I see this bank foreclosure, seller financing, 5% down, 10% interest, 5 acres. And it said Newcastle. I said to Joe, I go, well, what about Newcastle? He goes, yeah, Newcastle's fine. I just don't want to live in stinking Lincoln. For any of you who live near Lincoln. So I'll never forget, I drove all the way out, Sierra College Boulevard. It was in the boonies at the time. I come down to the street, Indian Oaks Drive. I turn on it. It's an old dirt road, all kind of ruts and, jacked up road. I come around the corner and I see this huge oak tree with a tree house in it. And I had a 5-year-old little boy. Called my husband, Joe. I said, hey, we're buying a house. He goes, no, we're not. I said, yes, we are. And I pulled up to the house. It was bright neon yellow. They had locked animals in the house, so you can only imagine how it smelled. And it was this big yellow house, weeds everywhere, overgrown, had indoor, outdoor carpet in it. I said, Joe, we're buying a house. He goes, there is no way we're buying that house. I go, yes, we are. I'm calling the agent. The listing agent, for some of those of you who know the area, was Luigi Caprio. I called Luigi. I said, hey, I'm interested in this house. Come on out. So he comes out, him and his wife, Debbie, and they're sitting on this funky old wood deck that had caution tape on it because the deck was falling apart. And he said, yeah, there's seller financing. And I'm like, Joe, we only need the house was listed for $260,000. So I needed 5%. So I basically needed about $12,000. Luigi looks at me, he goes, hey, why don't you just write the offer yourself? You just got your real estate license. You can keep the 3% commission, come in with 2%. Sure enough, the very first contract I wrote in December 1993 after I got my license was the contract on the home that I live in today. Now, why does that story matter? First of all, I wrote down goals. I had a vision for what I wanted, right? The second thing that's interesting is for the last 27 years that we lived in that home, it'll be 30 years this year, I had written down on my goals completely remodeled home. Because remember, it was a bank foreclosure, indoor outdoor carpet, weeds everywhere, junk. And literally, we were to the point where the kitchen sink was like falling through the countertop because things were going on. And I thought, I'm never going to be able to remodel this house. And I don't know if you guys remember in 2020, COVID year, but also blessing of EXP, our stock went from $2 a share to $90 a share.
Yep.
And I had been blessed to have accumulated via Icon, via bringing agents on, the 5% I contribute, the 5 different ways you can get stock with EXP, to have accumulated 32,000 shares of stock. So what started out as a kitchen remodel ended up with a completely remodeled home, as I had written in my goals for all those years. Literally, we gutted every part of our house down to 1 bedroom and a hall bath. We gutted it, remodeled everything. So to me, number one, that's what EXP has been a huge blessing for us. Now, let me back up again. So for 22 years, I get my license in December of 1993 with the intent to do loans because interest rates had dropped to an all-time low of 8%. And we thought they ain't never getting any lower than that. You need to do refis, right? So I got my real estate license to do refis. I went to work as a loan officer for 1 year and I hated it. I said, I'm not doing loans. It sucked. It was visual. I got out of that. I went to work for Luigi, the guy that was the agent on my home. And I now had a second son. We had a second son, our son, Jake. So I was carrying him literally in a baby carrier into the office. Luigi's phones would ring off the hook. He was a big REO agent at the time, foreclosures. And I would answer the phone. I'd be like, Luigi, they want to see houses. He was like, well, go show them houses. I was like, okay. So I'd drive out there. Back then, you know, we didn't have all the same technology y'all are blessed with now. And I drove out there, show houses. I'd come back. I'd be like, Luigi, they want to write an offer. He goes, well, write an offer. I was like, okay. Thankfully, contracts were only 4 pages back then, but they did have the 4 pages of the NCR papers. You had to write tough. You had to write hard. I ended up selling 18 houses in my first 6 months. I said, I think this real estate gig's good for me. I like real estate, right? I did well. Now I was pregnant with a third son. My husband says, I have my broker's license. Why don't you just come work with me? So I went home, went to work with Joe. We started our independent brokerage at the time called Realty First in January of 1996. And we spent the next few years building that. We'd get a few agents, lose a few. We had an independent brokerage. We ended up getting about 20, 25 agents. And then I don't know if y'all remember around 2008, the market went to hell in a handbasket, right? And so luckily I was doing a ton of foreclosures by that point. And I'll tell you how I even started doing foreclosures, you guys. I started getting requests for BPOs, and everyone's like, what's a BPO, right? Broker price opinion. And they were paying $50 for BPOs. And people were like, I'm not doing that work for $50. I'm like, oh, that's milk money for my kids, right? Like I needed to pay the bills. And I started doing BPOs. I got into REO. 2009, we got talked into buying a franchise. So we had our brokerage for all that time. We got talked into buying a franchise. Big mistake. If you know anyone who's looking at franchises, you guys, it was the biggest mistake we made. And we did get that franchise. We built the company to about 120 agents. And by most standards, you would think we were really successful. You would think we were making a ton of money and we wouldn't have to work hard. The truth is, we sat down one day, my husband Joe got diagnosed with Parkinson's disease, and we said the financial stress of running this brokerage is getting too much. And when we really genuinely looked at the numbers and looked at what it would take to potentially sell that brokerage, we learned two things. Number one, whenever you're trying to put a brokerage up for sale, they're going to pull your personal production out of the equation, which meant my production. I was the biggest producer out of 120 agents in our company. And when they pull your personal production out, of course, the company has to be profitable. And the crazy part was when I really looked at those numbers, that company was not profitable when you took my numbers out of it, which meant that all the money I was making was going back into running a brokerage. And you guys, I would venture to say that 99% of the independent brokerages that are out there are operating in the same space, and they don't even know. They don't even know what they don't know. They're losing tons and tons of money, all because of ego. And I had a big ego, don't get me wrong. And so we really looked at the franchise model and we said, you know what, we need to get out of this franchise. So January of 2015, we got out of the franchise. We went back to being an independent brokerage. 100 of our agents scattered and went to other companies, which is another key point because you think you're doing it for them, but they're not there for you, right? And the truth is 100 of those agents left. 20 of them said, we'll go wherever you go. But 100 scattered. None of them said, hey, can we write a check to help you keep the doors open? Hey, can you reduce our split so you could make a little bit more money and not shut the company down? Nobody said that, not one. So we shut the doors down. It was very difficult. I will tell you, after 22 years of what I thought I was building a dream, all went to hell in a handbasket. We went back to being a small independent brokerage. I said I would never join another company. I got recruited by everybody, you guys. I got flown to Austin, Texas by Keller Williams. I got sent to Remax's big annual event. I got called by HomeSmart. I got called by Century 21, Coldwell Banker. Everybody was trying to recruit me to their company. And I was like, none of it made sense to me. They're like, oh, but we have the brand. You guys, here's the thing you have to understand. Brand only matters when you have nothing else. So if you're hanging your hat on Coldwell Banker's hat or hanging your hat on, Century 21 or HomeSmart or whatever it is, nobody gives two shits about that brand. Oh, sorry. I have to pass it. There you go. Nobody gives anything about that brand. They care about you. And so I literally had zero desire or intentions of ever joining a brokerage. And I got a phone call from Brent. He's like, hey, y'all know how Brent is. Hey, what's going on with you? Hey, I want to get your opinion about something. I'm like, Brent, I don't know what you're selling, but I'm not interested. I love you, man. Thanks anyway. I'm at Disneyland with the kids. He goes, well, okay, call me when you get back. I'm like, yeah, okay, sure. Didn't call him. I get back Tuesday. I'm sitting in my office. He calls me. He goes, hey, do you want to go to lunch? And I'm like, where are you? He goes, I'm across the street. Oh, Brent. I'm like, okay. So I went to lunch with him, and here's a couple of things that are key, you guys. Number one, the entire hour at lunch, he did not say one word about EXP. The entire time, he's like, so what's going on? How are you? How's Joe? How's the kids? What's new? How's business? He asked me all these questions about my life. And finally, at the end, I'm like, okay, Brent, what is this thing? What are you doing? Like, what are you selling? What is going on? He goes, meet me at my office tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. and bring Joe. Okay. Next morning, we sat back then. Rob Flick did live webinars. We sat down with Rob Flick and watched this live presentation he did. And I have to tell you, about 15 minutes in, I was like, I think this makes sense. And I looked at Joe. I'm like, I think we need to do this. Now, my ego started to sneak in by saying, but you've already told your agents once that you're shutting down. You can't go tell them again, you're moving again. We spent the whole night talking about it, trying to figure out whether it made sense or not. And at the end of the day, I said we had to do what was best for us. And so we actually ended up joining EXP October 2016, this month, 7 years ago. And 10 of our agents out of the 20 came with us. The other 10 said, oh, we'll just stay at our independent brokerage. So we kept that open for about a year. Here's the interesting thing, you guys. At the end of the year, two things happened. Number one, I was all hung up on paying the $16,000 because I was getting 100%. At the end of 1 year, I'd made $43,000 in revenue share, not including stock. So I paid 16 grand to get back 43 grand. I don't know about you, but I'll take that deal all day long, right? The second aspect was we went back to those agents who had stayed at our brokerage, and all 10 of them after 1 year had closed 2 deals of which we had made $1,800. We said, we love you. You got to go. You either need to join EXP or you need to go find another place, right? Fast forward 7 years later, I've now made a little over $1 million in revenue share in the last 7 years. So I'm pretty confident that it's been the best decision we ever made. It's been a game changer. It was even more impactful when in 2020, we talked about remodeling our house, which was pretty amazing. But I also got diagnosed with breast cancer. And during that time, I was panicked. I was like, well, who's going to take care of my family? What's going to happen? The beauty was every month I got revenue share that exceeded about $15,000 to $18,000 a month from the work I had done the previous years, which allowed me to focus on my health. Thank God I'm all cancer free, all good. Allowed me to focus on my health instead of focusing on out there trying to sell houses. Can you imagine trying to show property when you're going through chemo and you're throwing up and you've lost your hair and all those things? You guys, this company has been the biggest blessing that has happened to me, short of my husband and children, in my life. And I don't even know why. I mean, truly tell me if you can tell me of another company that is changing lives in that way. Now, maybe they haven't hit the numbers that we've had. Maybe you're earning $200 a month in revenue share. And maybe that $200 a month is food for your family. Maybe that $200 a month is a utility bill for somebody who's struggling to make their utility bill. This is the impact that we can make with this company. And I don't know another company out there that can say that. There's copycats that are popping up. They're trying to do it, but it's not the same. There's lots of copycats for Amazon, right? Not the same. The reality is that we have that opportunity, and it would be sad for you not to share it, would it not? It would be sad for you to know somebody that could benefit from something like this and you didn't tell them. And trust me, you guys, I've had it happen plenty of times. I've seen people join EXP. I was like, oh, I didn't call him, right? Oh, I should have reached out to him. Oh, I should have checked in with him, and I didn't. So this is the power of this company that we are connected with. And I've never seen a company like this. Like, you guys, I'm not in Chris's downline, and Chris isn't in my downline. I have zero financial benefit in getting on this call and talking to you guys and helping you. I have zero. And I've never seen a company like that that is so willing to collaborate and support and help each other with nothing in return. Nothing in return other than I love you guys and you're my friends. But the reality is there's no financial incentive. I can't imagine KW coming on here and doing this. I can't imagine anybody at Century 21 hopping on here and talking about, you know, how their company has changed their lives or what it's done or how they could help you. I've never, ever seen anything like that. And I've been around a while. So I've looked at every model and I still continue to look. I mean, somebody comes along with something better. I mean, I can't imagine that they would, but I would certainly have an open mind. And, you know, the biggest reason that people don't make the changes that they know they need to make is ego. I just talked to a top agent that I've been talking to for many years who did not make a brokerage change that hooked her train to whatever that other company is, Place or something like that out there. And I'm like, did you ever do a deep dive on these numbers? She goes, oh yeah, it's just my ego gets in the way. I said, yeah, ego gets in the way a lot. But the thing is that ego getting in the way of you taking care of your family? Is that ego, just like Dylan announced early on with the successor program, is your ego keeping you from taking care of your children and the people that you care about in your life? It did me for quite a while. So I'm incredible. I don't know if that's what you wanted me to talk about. I don't even know what you wanted me to talk about, but there you go, Chris. You sure?
Marguerite, what about, you know how you had breast cancer, you went through all of that. Can you tell them about your insurance during that time, not to mention that you also had the monthly income sustaining you? Didn't your insurance?
Yeah, so the beauty of this, is it my network? Am I saying can you guys hear me okay? Okay.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
the beauty is that prior to that, I was private paying for a policy, and I was paying $1,800 a month for health insurance. And I was able to participate in EXP's health insurance, which dropped it to below $1,000. I saved over half and ended up not having a ton of medical bills. I think I ended up with about $5,000 total in medical bills going through what is potentially millions of dollars of cancer treatment. So that's just one more benefit of what is available at EXP that I didn't have before, and it wasn't even an option. And so there are so many, and they're constantly adding things every day to this company. And I don't know about you, but if any of you have spent any amount of time with Glenn, he is definitely one of the most humble, genuine people that I've ever met. And he genuinely wants to help people change their lives. And I mean, can any of you not say this company has not changed your lives? I don't know that you can. I mean, I genuinely can't. There's been so many things that have happened in my life, people that I've connected with and met and spent time with, people who said, hey, call me anytime. Happy to help you with anything you need. And I just haven't seen anything like that out there. And, you know, I now have 539 agents at EXP. I didn't bring all those on, you guys. I brought on 30 of them, and those people brought on people who brought on people. And when people say, oh, it's an MLM, I'm going to give you a good MLM story right now. So in 1997, I sold a home to a gal named Linda Buckmaster. Linda Buckmaster was a grandma who her goal was she wanted to have a permanent home for her children and grandchildren so that they weren't homeless or living in bad areas. I sold her a $50,000 HUD home. My commission was $1,500 before commission splits. Linda Buckmaster has since bought and sold 8 homes through me. That's not even the best part. The best part is Linda has referred people who have referred people who have referred people who have referred people. 8 levels deep, 65 referrals, $400,000 in commissions since 1997. That's an MLM, is it not? Is that the same opportunity we have at EXP? We have the same opportunity to refer somebody who can refer somebody who can refer somebody. That really is the genuine goal of everything we do. You guys are already referring your favorite restaurant. You go and have great tacos somewhere. You're like, oh my gosh, I just hit that street corner shop that had the best tacos in the world. Everybody's got to go there. You're already doing that. So why would you not do the same thing to a company that can change people's lives? Doesn't even make sense.
Yep. I appreciate that. I love it. I love it. How about we talk a little bit? I mean, obviously you coach a lot of agents too right now. The market is a little challenging. People may have been in it for the last 2 or 3 years, may not have experienced a real market. Or even ones that have been before 2008. The ones that hit 2008 was probably one of the worst ones ever. I would say if you even lasted that one, that was one of the worst ones. What are you doing right now to coach some of your agents? Maybe help them strategize some things to navigate through some of this stuff. Maybe some key factors they can really implement in their business today. Something small, something simple, or whatever that you can articulate through.
So a couple of things. We have a whole generation of real estate agents and consumers that have only since 2010, when the bottom of the market hit, seen sales prices escalate and interest rates low. So right now we're starting to see things change a little bit, right? And the truth is for the last 13 years, agents, even if you've been around 13 years, even if you're not a newbie, even if you're, more than 10 years, you've not put a house on the market and seen it sit, right? Unless it was overpriced. You've not put a house on the market and had 0 showings, right? So things are changing. And what that means is that we have to go back to the basics. We have to go back to old school, which tried and true has worked since the beginning of time and still works. How proactive are you being in your business right now? When I say proactive, are you making outbound calls, or are you sitting around waiting for the phone to ring? Are you spending a bunch of time on social media, or are you getting out and networking and meeting people and talking to people and doing open houses? You guys, right now, you're going to have to do 10 times the work that you normally have done. And there's no way around it. There ain't no easy button. There's nobody who's going to walk in and say, oh my gosh, Chris, here's 20 hot buyers and sellers. I can't wait to work with you. That's not happening. And most sellers have no desire to sell because they have a 3% interest rate on their house. So guess what? You have to get creative. My favorite quote ever, I created it, at least I did in my mind, and I even had shirts made on my Etsy store. It says, you get paid in direct proportion to your ability to figure shit out.
Mhm.
What does that mean? You walk into Walmart and you're looking for a widget, and you see the first service person checker there. You're like, hey, I'm looking for this widget. And they go, oh yeah, I don't know where that is. And they go back to what they're doing. You walk up to another one and they go, oh yeah, they're actually over here. Let me take you to this aisle 7, and here they are. These are my favorites. This is the top seller. Do you have any questions about it? Is there anything I can help you with? Who do you think is going to rise to management? The second one. So you guys, yeah, we're in a challenging market, which means you have to get creative. When back in 2006, I'll never forget, it was August of 2006, I put a house on the market. 2 weeks later, crickets, no showings, no nothing, nothing. I'm like, I think the winds have changed. Now, obviously, in hindsight, I had no idea what was going to happen with the market, but I knew something happened. You all know something's happening, which means you can't sit around waiting. You can't sit around and go, oh yeah, it's going to get better in the spring. It's not. You can't sit around saying, oh, next month I'll make my calls, or next week I'll make my calls. You guys, we are in a world that is more connected than ever, but people are creating a connection. Reach out, pick up the phone, call people. I called an agent the other day and they're like, are you calling me to recruit me to XP? I go, no, I'm just calling you because I haven't talked to you in a long time. And I know the market's a little tough right now. I want to see how you're doing.
Mhm.
Call a client. Hey, what's going on? How's things? How's life? How's business? You guys, you have to reach out 10 times more than you have been. So if you've been doing nothing up until now, guess what? You got 100 times it. But are you making phone calls? Are you getting your butt out of bed, out of the house, out of your pajamas, and going out and meeting people and connecting with people and talking to them? Are you doing the work? If I were to follow you around with a video camera all day long, from the time you get up till the time you go to bed, what am I going to see you doing? What am I going to see? Because guess what, you guys? You're the boss of you. Nobody else is the boss of you. You are the boss of you. I had that shirt made too. It says, I'm the boss of me. You're in charge of your own economy. You are. Nobody else is. So if you're the boss of you and you want to make 100 grand this year, which comes out to about $43 an hour, and it's the end of the month, and you have to write that check for $8,333 to your employee, which is you. How willing are you to write that check to that employee? Did they do the work? Did they show up? Did they put in the time? Did they put in the effort? Remember, you're the boss of you. Would you write you that check right now? And I'm talking, only you can answer that question for yourself. Nobody, it doesn't matter to anybody else. Only you can answer that question. Now, if you want to make $1 million a year, guess what? That check's $83,000. Would you be willing to write yourself a check right now for the efforts you have put in the last 30 days for $83,333? I don't know. Again, only you can answer those questions. So that's the thing you're going to have to do right now. What's one thing you can do today? Pick up the damn phone. Pick it up. I mean, we have cell phones now. We don't have the ones that we have to actually pick up. Pick up the phone. Call somebody, anybody. Start with people you know that you are going to be happy to hear from you if you're struggling to make calls. But pick up the phone and call. Call 10 people. Talk to 10 people today. Not just call, leave messages. Text only counts if you're getting a response and you're engaging in a conversation. But there's something different about your voice versus a text message. And are you making the calls? Are you talking to people? Are you connecting? Put on an event. Do a happy hour. Call 10 of your clients and say, hey, guess what? I'm going to be at Bar 101 Friday from 4 to 7. Drinks and treats on me. Swing by. If you don't have the budget to do it, you guys contact some partners. Hey, guess what? Can you guys kick in $100? Talk to lenders or your home inspectors or whoever. Hey, guys, I'm going to get 10 of my great clients here. You don't have to make it big. It doesn't have to be fancy. Call a few of your buddies and meet for beer. Whatever. If you don't drink, I don't care. Drink, meet for soda. Meet for mocktails. But the reality is what are you doing today? What is in your schedule? If all of you were to open up your calendar right now, what would I see in your calendar? And that's really, I mean, I got no secrets. There's no easy button. The secret is do the work. Just like Chris has the secret to getting fit and healthy. What does he do different than I do? He gets his ass up and goes and runs and jumps and exercises and he works out and he does all the crazy stuff he does. That's why he looks the way he does at what, almost 60 now, Chris?
Watch that, girl.
Hey,
Yeah.
I turned 60 November 27th, so just in case.
Age is only a number to me. In my mind, I'm still like 15. No, not 15. I'm like 21.
There you go. But the truth is, he does the work, right? Are you doing the work? Only you can answer that for yourselves. And you know what? Your results show. So if you don't have the results right now, it's because you didn't do the work you needed to do to get the results. Because you guys, there's two types of people in this world. People who get paid for time and people who get paid for results. We get paid for results. So if you're not making the money that you want to make, are you putting in the work that is going to result in the results that you want? Super simple. No secret, no easy button, no nothing. I wish I had some secret for you, but I don't. Make a commitment and maybe get an accountability partner. Say, hey, I'm going to send you my list of talk tos today. I'm going to talk to 10 people. And for those of you who knew Rick Jiha, who sadly we all love and we miss him greatly, what I can tell you is what I've been thinking about the last couple of weeks is to be like Rick, to live like Rick. Rick had been in the business 40 years, and you guys, he still door knocked. He still did calls every day. He still did all of the work that he had been doing for 40 years. He didn't even have to do it anymore, and he still did it because when I asked him why was he still doing it, he goes, because we're changing lives. That's why. He said, because we're changing lives. Whether that's selling houses or whether that is helping people build revenue share organizations, I don't know. But once you hit all your versions of success, then you figure out what can you do to pay it forward, pass it on. So,
yeah, that's why I think is the beauty of this opportunity here at EXP is that you could build something which we could all have done anywhere we were at before, right? Realistically, I could sell real estate anywhere, Coldwell Banker, Remax, we've done it. And we were successful in our own rights in those spaces. But how are we really making an impact? And that's where I'm at now. In this 6 or 7, because I joined pretty much the same time you did in October, November. And, you know, in the last 7, 8 years, I've been able to make more of an impact on friends that I actually love and care about that I've never been able to do before. You know, I was changing lives of these strangers that I met in strange open houses. That's awesome. But my buddy who I've been selling real estate with, like side by side for a decade, I wasn't able to do anything for him. Really. I'd help him sell more houses, but ultimately his significant other would hate me because they wouldn't see him ever. It would just take more of his time away from his personal life. So I really wasn't helping him. I was actually kind of helping him hang himself. I mean, in a bad way. So I love this. EXP does change that. And your insight is right, Marguerite. I think this is back to basics 100%. I mean, literally, if I were to pick up my cell phone and find the 2,000 people I have in my cell phone, and if I called every one of them, I'm sure someone would either want to buy or sell or would know someone who wants to buy or sell. But do I do it? Do I call it? That's a starting point. Your cell phone is a starting point. There's no excuses for it. I love it. Anybody else have some stuff for Marguerite? I mean, she's like, yeah, I can't even say it. Appreciate you so much. You obviously been in the for a long time. Anybody have any questions for her on some of the stuff she's doing, some of the things she's offering? Yeah, feel free, jump in. I don't know if you have more questions. We got about 10, 15 minutes left. If anybody wants to be courageous and throw out a question.
Yeah, I'm an open book. You can ask me anything you want.
Bueller.
Who's willing to commit to making some calls today?
Oh, I am. That's my new commitment for the entire year. 100%. Every day. You know, one of the things that's interesting, I would go back on this. When I always used to coach my agents on, show me your calendar, I'll see what direction you're heading, right? And for the longest time, my calendar was like scrambled eggs. It really was not very, just like, it wasn't organized. So I recently went through my entire calendar and orchestrated it and literally put it in color coding and all the stuff I need to do to make myself accountable to it. So yeah, if you look at my calendar now, you know exactly where I'm headed to. So that's one of the things I would challenge everybody at this point. Like literally open up, if you're using a Google Calendar or a Gmail or whatever calendar you're using, open it up today and be honest with yourself. Look at it, look in the mirror. If I'm looking at my calendar and it says nothing but, like nothing really, no lead generation time in there, no follow-up time in there, no time blocking for showing agents or clients, or if that's none that's in there, you're not manifesting anything in your life right now. You are a wandering generality. You're not a meaningful specific. And I don't mean this to be mean or to be like, put you down. Just being honest and clear. This is where you're at. If you want to get to the bottom of all this, you got to be down to be able to pull yourself down to layers and look at yourself from the purest point.
Well, and here's the thing too, you guys. I think about 40% of the agents aren't going to make it. They're going to get out of the business. So is that you? I don't know. Nobody knows the answer except you. There's a lot of agents right now looking for side hustles and extra jobs. And the truth is, if they would just put that same information, that same time, energy, resources into doing what they need to do in real estate, they would far exceed their goals. So do you want to go get a job right now that's going to pay you 20, 25 bucks an hour and take you away from your family and require you to be sitting at a desk for 8 hours a day? Maybe you might get lucky and get one that's like, $30 an hour. But is that what you want to do? Take that same time, energy, and resources and put it into what you already have and watch it soar.
Yeah. I don't know anybody that's ever started a part-time gig and think they're going to do part-time real estate and actually it rarely ever works. I mean, you might get one exception to a rule, but the rule is you're only good at one thing. You can't multitask and think that you're going to grow a real estate business doing it part-time. So you're right. Take the energy you're going to go at your full-time job, throw all of it in, like burn your boat and go after it. Otherwise, yeah, you'll be at the 40%.
I used to say, if you have a fallback plan, you'll fall back.
Yeah.
So, if you have a plan B, you're going to end up living in plan B. Like, what is it that you want? I don't, only you can answer that for yourself. I mean, I even sat down the other day because I haven't done it in a minute. And I sat down and I wrote down my goals so that I could put them up on my wall of the things, because I haven't written down my goals in a few months. So I went through and revised my goals so I could put it up right where I can see it every single day. And, whether that's one goal or 50. I mean, I put goals on mine that are from little stuff to big stuff. It's just how I operate, because I get excited when I can cross off the little stuff. I can cross off anything. But the reality is, I mean, it's the time of year. We're looking at October 24th. We have 2 months. We're literally 60 days from Christmas Eve. Right? And the new year. So it's like, okay, where do you want to be? What do you want your life to look like? And you don't have to wait till the new year to start a new year. You can start a new year today.
Yeah. Best time to plant a tree is now. Or actually, it was 6 months ago. But the better time is today, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
I love it. I love the goal thing. Also, for me, I do everything in like Grant Cardone's 10X rule book is always put things future paced out as if you're living in that space. So all of my goals are in that I am here right now. I am doing this. I have that. I have that. You got to live in that sense. I have this. Whether if your goal and aspiration is to have 40 FLQAs, maybe it's to have 1,000 frontline, total organization. Maybe it's you want to close $1 million in GCI. I don't know, but you need to put it in that present tense that I closed $1 million in GCI this year. You got to live that in your mind, because once you do, it stabilizes that and starts to create the motion towards that direction. You can't, if you're not thinking that big, you're never going to go for it. It's not going to happen. Your body is not going to go that direction. It's going to go the other direction.
100%.
I love it. All right, got 6 minutes. Anybody else got something to throw at Marguerite here real quick? Like Jeopardy, she can answer any question, even in Jeopardy format if you want to do it, the question format. If not, man, I love you guys all. I appreciate you every week coming on this. Marguerite, gosh, thank you so much.
Thank you, Marguerite, so much.
Yes, love you, love you, love you. Come see us on Friday.
Well,
Yes,
you guys, some of you guys will see Sunday, right?
yeah, for those who may be going in, I don't know who's know Rick Chihal that well, but yeah, Rick was an amazing, amazing, amazing individual, like life-changing individual. Sad to see him go.
So life-changing that his service is at the Oakland Coliseum.
Yeah, literally his funeral is going to be at the Oakland Coliseum. They rented out the entire Coliseum for his funeral. So that'll give you an idea of how much of an impact Rick made on people's lives. So anyways, all right, Marguerite, thank you again. Love you to death. Appreciate your insight. Everybody have an amazing week. Want to crush it. And EXP Explain on Thursdays like clockwork, guys. I'll see you all there. Have an amazing week. Love you all.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, guys.